Radiating lines are a common motif of poster design. Psychedelic rock posters and protest posters, and there's several easy ways to make radiating lines, and they both involve either a circle or a single line. So I've drawn a horizontal line here, the red one, and I've also just drawn a circle. So from the circle, there's a couple different ways I can do this. I can go to Effect, Distort and Transform Zigzag, which brings me this uh, flyout window, and if I click Preview, I can change the size of these points, and I can change the number of them, and I can see that I get some radiating lines there pretty quickly, and I can play around with whether the size is relative, which gives me really huge variations in distance, or absolute, and then I'm only dealing with inches and have a more limited span. I can also choose whether they're round or smooth, um, and because this is an effect, if I move it and want to change it later, I can go to my appearance window, click on the zigzag, and I can always edit that to something else I like later. Really effective, changeable way to get radiating segments. I can also, with the circle, just change its stroke from solid to dashed. So I've got a 6-point line here. I'm going to choose dash. By default, usually I get a 12-point dash, and because there's no gap specification, the gap will also be whatever the length of the dash is. So if I change this to 1 point and make a gap of, say, 5, I get this dotted line, and now it's just a matter of changing the thickness of my stroke. So if I've got a 300-point stroke, I get some radiating lines. It gets trickier to grab this one. If I have 2 points, 6, and 12. So you get the idea. I can play with the dots and dashes. There can sometimes be, I'm going to try to make sure, oh yeah, if I click this little align to corners option, it will get rid of, it makes the lines come out even, so it's one continuous path. But that's the dotted line approach. I can edit this, but it's in my stroke flyout menu. It's not in the appearance. I mean, stroke is there, but I need to come to the stroke menu option in order to make that dashed or not. Um, so one. So the way that I can do this with a line is I select this line. It's going across the whole of my canvas, and if I go to again, Effect, Distort and Transform, which sounds repetitive and is, but I'm going to transform this. And what I'm going to do is make sure that the orientation point is set to the center of that line, and I'm going to add a rotation angle. I'll just do 10 to start with, and I'm going to change the number of copies. So as I turn on preview here, I can see that now it would rotate that line 10 degrees, but I can also, I'm just going to use the up arrow here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can add copies to that line until I've got a complete circle. Now all of these additional lines are really just rendered on the screen. They don't exist as lines. I can't select them and change them unless I expand the appearance. So if I look in outline view, I still only have that one single red line, and what I do to that line, I do to all of the lines. So if I change its line thickness, if I change the way the stroke ends to make it pointier or thick on one end, thin on the other, I can also make this a dashed line and get radiating effects like that. So there are a lot of ways to get radiating lines in Illustrator. They're very simple, very quick, but they involve just a circle or a line.